At its core, D&D is a game of storytelling, imagination, and memories. Part of what makes sessions so memorable is the fantastic and odd creatures that you come across in your adventuring travels. This is a list of some of the most memorable and impactful creatures for me personally. I'm going to say that again. This is not a list of the most powerful monsters, nor the best, simply my favorites. And if you agree with my picks, make sure to like the video and tell me in the comments. Also, if you like the content, make sure to subscribe. I try to upload weekly, and with a smaller community, it is incredibly easy to find like-minded people. Another thing, there are a ton of monsters in the Monster Manual that I love that didn't quite make the list. If any of your favorites didn't, then let me know who they are below. Without further ado, here are my favorite 11 monsters in D&D 5e. As a DM and as a player, combat can get pretty boring at times. Fights in Dungeons & Dragons can easily turn into a game of who has bigger numbers for damage and health. Sitting in one place and swinging over and over undermines what makes D&D so great. Collective problem solving. This is where the Rust Monster comes in. Looking at the stat block, it doesn't seem like an incredibly intimidating foe. However, the special ability to rust metals forces the barbarian and fighter to reevaluate their strategies or adapt to work with light armor or with less effective weapons. Okay, I'll be honest. Lord of the Rings pushed the Balor into the top 10 position for me. Its character design perfectly encapsulates the horror of facing down a demon general of the Abyss, and its stats back up that fear factor. Battlers are the embodiment of fear and raw power that the Abyss holds, and may even have an epic duel with your Bladesinger wizard or for a chasm to the depths of the world. Many people would question the Lich being this low on the list, but to be honest, the Lich was never really my favorite villain monster. Liches are wizards who, through dark necromancy, achieve immortality through the use of a phylactery that consumes souls. That's all fancy talk for Voldemort and his Horcruxes. The motive of immortality just really isn't that engaging to me personally. Despite this, the Lich still made it incredibly high on the list, all things considered. It embodies many cliches about the game of Dungeons & Dragons, but sometimes cliches are created for a reason. And you can fault something for following a cliche, but not for originating it. I love Mind Flayers. There's something about the eldritch horror of a long-lost evil from another world clawing its way to the surface with its dark influence that makes for an incredibly engaging storytelling and gameplay. The Mind Flayer's specialized abilities keep parties on their toes, and their instant kill mechanic adds a fear factor that's difficult to replicate. I love the deep lore of Illithid history, influence, and cultural rituals that surround Mind Flayer colonies. Mind Flayers are my favorite villainous group of monsters in D&D, and I would use them in every single campaign if it wouldn't get stale. Look at the boy! You look him in the eyes and tell him he doesn't deserve a spot on this list. If you can, you're a heartless wench! In all seriousness though, I have severe ADHD, and as such, cannot hold on to thoughts for more than a period of like 6 seconds. And seeing as these boys feed off lost thoughts, if I met a Flumph in real life, they would be set for life. I just enjoyed the thoughts of harmlessly feeding off lost thoughts or subconscious musings. Okay, so I think this one needs a little explaining. The Shambling Mound is a CR5 plant that slowly scoots towards an enemy until they can attack or envelop it. This doesn't seem like incredibly interesting lore, nor does it seem like an interesting monster in general. The reason the Shambling Mound is here is because of game design. Because the Shambling Mound is resistant to cold and fire, and straight up heals from lightning, 3 of the most common damage types in the game, the mound acts as an early teaching tool to show casters that they can't just spam the same couple of spells and expect to be useful in combat. This seemingly boring creature plays a vital role in setting the learning curve of this game, and for that, it takes this spot. Towering 26 feet tall, a figure looms over the attacking army with a hunched back carrying a swarm of demons. A moving fortress, a living siege machine that sweeps despair into any who see it. A Garistro. I think that narration pretty much wraps up why I love this thing so much. It's a massive, intimidating monster that is mostly found guarding areas or acting as a siege engine on the battlefield. Taking one of these things down is incredibly satisfying, and it makes it a perfect mid-level mini-boss, or even a boss monster in of itself in many instances. The gnothic is on a slightly smaller scale than the previous entry, but I find myself strongly drawn to its lore. Gnothics are a lot like Gollum from Lord of the Rings, and draw inspiration from him. However, instead of only coveting particular magic items, Gnothics are also obsessed with learning magical secrets. Gnothics are wizards who were reduced to creeping monsters with an eye for magic, pun intended. I think I love this creature so much because of its potential as an NPC. They're incredibly knowledgeable about a variety of different magical secrets, and are not incredibly powerful. But I could imagine limitless scenarios to use a Gnothic in my games as an NPC or even a quest giver. The Rakshasa, in my mind, is the ultimate mob boss of D&D. They're shady, mysterious figures who run organizations from the shadows with an unparalleled charisma. In pop culture, I love villains who are defined by their ideas and charisma, so it makes sense for me to like the Rakshasa. It's also one of those few caster-type monsters in D&D that is actually somewhat difficult to defeat due to immunities to most magic, leaving the party's options severely limited. Before the material plane was shaped and controlled by deities worshipped among the mortal population, before these beings were even called gods, the aboleths reigned supreme over the lowly populations of the planes. The origin of aboleths is unknown, but the vast possibilities of a ruined tyrannical empire returning to power is an incredibly enemy motivation. I love incorporating remnants of a lost time in my campaigns. It makes the world feel like it has a history, and opens the floodgates of atmospheric storytelling. The aboleth, with its millions of years of knowledge, perfectly represents that idea. And here is number 1. My favorite monster in the monster manual is the Black Dragon. It may seem odd that with no other dragon on this list, that the Black Dragon made it to the top. But let me explain why. While I love dragons in any media, including Dungeons & Dragons, the ancient black dragon stands out in terms of flavor and possibility. Much like aboleths, black dragons revel in the crumbling of civilizations, and lair in fetid swamps or ancient ruins. While most swamps are already foul, the mere presence of a black dragon fills the ground and water with an unbearable stench of rotten decay. Black dragons are the most cruel and vile of all dragons, and just being around one causes the surrounding area to mimic its demeanor. However, when the dragon is finally defeated, the area explodes into a beautiful rebirth of the environment. Flowers bloom, and trees sprout. Black dragon bones adorn most of the most beautiful places in the world, and as such, usually mark entrances into the Feywild. Because of all this, a black dragon can be a poetic fray between the old and the new. Destruction and creation, death and rebirth, rotten growth, good and evil, or ugliness and beauty. All of these themes beautifully play into one monster whose fight will always be cinematic due to the end result of the blooming of the Black Dragon's lair. That is why the Black Dragon is my favorite D&D monster. Well, hey, you made it to the end of the video, so you probably liked it in some way, right? Well, if you like the video and subscribe, that will let me know that there are people who want to see more of this content. These longer videos take a tremendous amount of effort to create, and it would be incredibly appreciated if y'all would hit the red button to show me you liked it and help me with the doo-doo butter algorithm. Anyway, peace. Hey, I almost forgot to do the actual off-script portion for this week, so I'll just tell you, we have a channel Discord in the description below. I've been streaming just after noon on Sundays. If you want the channel announcements and you want to join the community for fan art, memes, all that, Discord's the best place to know when I'm going to be streaming and everything. So I'm going to be doing a Pokemon Nuzlocke this weekend. Yeah, and next week you can expect one of the shorter kind of this is the series I'm going to be doing. So, anyway, thanks so much for watching. Most importantly, more than anything, stay nerdy. Have a great day.